Everybody is talking about it. They talking about, oh my God, Marvin Gaye. Wasn't he a fine man? When I tell you that brother is talented, that's when real talent was real talent, right? Nothing can compare to Marvin Gaye. I came across this video and I said, you know what? My people want to love to see this. So I want us to react to it. I want to know your thoughts about it. Now, I have to remind you, they are saying in this video it is some dark secrets about Marvin Gaye. This is my first time watching it, so I have no idea what we're in store for. You know, we've heard many rumors over the years, but none is really confirmed. So are they going to bring that up? We'll just have to see. Stay tuned. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe here at this YouTube channel. And I just want to say thank you all for the likes and the shares, and I really appreciate it. So let's
get up, get up, get up, get up. Let's make love tonight. Yes, I'm just a stubborn kind of fella, got my mind made up.
His father was very strict with the kids, about when they could go out, when they had to be in, what they could wear. The girls weren't allowed to wear makeup, and he had very strong feelings against secular pop music.
Did you know that Marvin Gaye, one of the greatest singers of all time, died with a secret that shocked everyone? What could be so terrible that it stayed hidden, even as his music touched millions?
I think
Marvin's life was full of ups and downs. But what was he hiding before his tragic death? Let's uncover the heartbreaking truth behind this music legend's untold story.
When I was a child, I used to hear music constantly. I long for that to return to me.
Marvin Gaye was one of the most incredible music legends the world has ever seen. While he was famous for his talent early on, it wasn't until his later years that people truly appreciated his genius. His songs didn't just entertain, they made people think, feel, and connect on a deep level. Born on April 2nd, 1939, in Washington, D.C., his family lived in a rough area in a public housing project. The place, known as the Fairfax Apartments, was small and crowded. The buildings were old, falling apart, and didn't even have electricity or running water. Marvin and his friends called the neighborhood Simple City because it felt like a mix of city life and country life.
But we had a religious father, so we couldn't we couldn't start fights. And there was no cussing.
Marvin's parents were Marvin Gaye Sr., a church minister, and Alberta Gaye, a domestic worker. Marvin was the second of 4 children. He had 2 sisters, Jean and Zeola, and a brother named Frankie. Life at home wasn't easy.
His father was very strict with the kids, about when they could go out, when they had to be in, what they could wear. The girls weren't allowed to wear makeup, and he had very strong feelings against secular pop music.
His father was very strict and often punished him harshly. Marvin once said living with his father was like living with a cruel king. Thankfully, his mother was there to comfort him and encourage his singing. She gave him hope when he needed it the most.
Marvin's family were quite different because his father belonged to this church called the House of God, which was a black holiness church, but with a rather unusual twist because it had a very strong emphasis on the Old Testament, and it was a mixture of sort of Christianity and Judaism in some ways.
Marvin started singing in church when he was just 4 years old. His father played the piano while he sang. Their church followed strict rules, but Marvin loved music and quickly found joy in singing. When he was 11, he performed Be My Love at a school play, and people were amazed by his voice. This moment made Marvin believe he could turn singing into a career.
And Marvin approached me and said, Mr. Fuqua, I love your group, and we can really sing.
Even though life at home was tough, Marvin found happiness through music. In school, he joined the Glee Club and became a star. His love for singing grew stronger, and he worked hard to improve his talent. Singing wasn't just a hobby for Marvin. It became his escape from the struggles of his everyday life.
Marvin Sr. was getting invited to these preaching engagements because he would take along Marvin Jr., and Marvin Jr. would sing in these churches and these conventions. And people liked Marvin Jr. and Marvin Jr. was getting attention. So I think there you get the seeds of jealousy beginning.
By the time Marvin entered the music world, he was ready to break free of his father's control. His breakout hits in the 60s with Motown brought him not only fame, but a sense of liberation. Yet even as he hit the top of the charts, the shadow of his upbringing and the trauma inflicted by his father followed him. Gaye wasn't always the smooth, soulful singer everyone came to adore. He actually started out as a drummer. But with his first big hit, Stubborn Kind of Fellow,
Yes, I'm just a stubborn kind of fella, got my mind made up.
Marvin quickly rose in the ranks, becoming one of Motown's most treasured voices. By 1973, he was recording unforgettable tracks with legends like Diana Ross, and he didn't stop there. Marvin was experimenting with producing his own records and even playing every instrument. It was clear to everyone around him that Marvin was not just a singer, he was a game changer. But sadly, Gaye's private life was full of secrets, drama, and challenges. Starting with his first marriage was to Anna Gordy, the sister of Berry Gordy, who started Motown Records. Anna was much older than Marvin, and the couple struggled to have children. They ended up adopting a baby boy, Marvin III. However, the story behind this adoption was anything but simple. The child's biological mother, Denise Gordy, was Anna's niece. She was only 16 when she gave birth, and it was later revealed in a book by Michael Eric Dyson, Mercy, Mercy Me, The Art, Loves, and Demons of Marvin Gaye, that Marvin Gaye himself was the biological father of the child. The situation was shocking. Denise was underage at the time Marvin had a relationship with her. Marvin kept this a secret for many years, probably because admitting it could have caused him legal problems. He never publicly confirmed that he was the father of Marvin III, but the revelation still caused controversy. Despite these issues, Marvin stayed with Anna for some time. However, their marriage eventually fell apart. Unfortunately, it was quite a troubled marriage, as Gaye admitted to David Ritz via Rolling Stone. There was tremendous love between us and tremendous need for one another, the singer said, but I couldn't be controlled. Not by a wife, not by a manager, not by a record company. I was born a ram and a rebel. In 1975, Anna Gordy Gaye would file for divorce after 12 years of marriage. 1 year later, the alimony payments were just too expensive for Gaye to keep paying. Allegedly owing $600,000 to his ex-wife and unable to pay back taxes, the legendary crooner filed for bankruptcy, and his financial decline quickly escalated after that. He agreed to pay Anna the money he owed, with a settlement stipulating that the first $307,000 would be an advance payment coming from the royalties from the next album he'd release. The remaining $293,000 would come from subsequent royalties off future albums. Marvin later married Janice Hunter, a woman much younger than him. They had 2 children together, but this marriage didn't last either. By 1979, they had separated, leaving Marvin with huge debts, including alimony payments to both of his ex-wives. It wasn't the most ideal place to be in, and the generally messy divorce proceedings weren't helping, but it didn't take long for Gaye to find inspiration for the album that would help satisfy those alimony payments. Now, Gaye was in poor shape mentally during the making of What's Going On. Apart from his failed marriage to Anna Gordy, he was still grieving for his singing partner, Tammy Terrell, with whom he'd recorded classics such as Ain't No Mountain High Enough, who had died of brain cancer in March 1970 when she was just 24. Throughout his Motown career, Marvin Gaye had several duet partners. His first partner in 1964 was Mary Wells, at the time the queen of Motown, but their duet record, together, tamed her sound while it gave Gaye a platform to shine. He believed he cursed his duet partners, She Left Motown. Gaye was then placed with Kim Weston, and their song It Takes Two became a massive hit.
It takes two, baby. It takes two.
But after that record, she too left Motown. Then came the forgotten Oma Hurd, often mistaken on records as Oma Page, who was experienced in the record industry by the time she recorded some duet sides with Gaye. For all of the singles she recorded for Motown at the time, all but one of the singles was unreleased. The New Yorker then relays his most successful partnership with Tammy Terrell, which started in 1966 and led to numerous hits, but Terrell died from a brain tumor in 1970. Marvin was depressed just before What's Going On, the singer's American football star friend Mel Farr said. He'd been holed up in his house for a long time. Gaye was taking increasing amounts of hard drugs. He was traumatized by the daily news, especially the killing of 4 young students by the National Guard at Kent State University 2 months after Terrell's death. I couldn't sleep, couldn't stop crying, he told Ritz in Divided Soul. The life of Marvin Gaye. In his one interview in the summer of 1971 with disc and music Echo magazine's Phil Symes, Gaye admitted, "I was terribly disillusioned with life in general."
He fell out with me because I wouldn't loan him some money to buy some drugs.
Oh, that's what it was over?
Yeah.
Okay. What was Marvin on? Was it cocaine or something else?
Drugs played a big role in Marvin's decline. In the 1960s, he experimented with coke, but by the 70s, he was deep into addiction. According to those close to him, Marvin spent his time bouncing between reading scripture and doing coke, a strange routine that hinted at the inner battle he faced. His substance abuse grew worse over the years, and it wasn't just coke. He also experimented with PCP, a drug known for its intense, mind-altering effects. This lifestyle took a toll on Marvin's mental health, and in 1983, he attempted to end his life twice.
Were you noticing the drug use and kind of his decline and so forth around that time?
I was with Marvin damn near every day, man. Yeah, was I noticing it? Yeah. No, yeah, I was definitely noticing it.
Marvin's also had money problems, which became overwhelming. He owed the IRS over $1 million in back taxes, the state of California $600,000, and had to pay more than $300,000 in alimony. Struggling to deal with all this, Marvin left the United States and moved to London. He hoped a change of scenery would help, but instead he got caught up in a wild lifestyle filled with drugs again and partying. Things didn't improve, so he moved again, this time to Belgium. In Belgium, Marvin started to turn his life around. He found a friend and supporter in a Belgian businessman named Freddie Cussart, who helped him focus on his music. While in Belgium, Marvin recorded one of his biggest hits, Sexual Healing, in 1983. The song was a huge success and brought him back into the spotlight. But even with this success, Marvin couldn't escape his financial troubles. His debts still loomed large, and his personal life was far from settled.
Oh, and from time to time, I would smoke some with him, you know? So, yeah, we put the cocaine in the weed and smoke it. That's the only way I would smoke it.
But the drama didn't stop there. Gaye's relationship with his label, Motown, also started to fall apart. The final straw came when Motown released Gaye's album, In Our Lifetime, without his approval. Not only did they change the title of the album, they removed a crucial question mark, but they also altered the production of the album without consulting him. Gaye was furious. He felt that the removal of the question mark in the album's title changed its meaning entirely. In his mind, the question was the essence of the album. Is the world coming to an end in our lifetime? He also wasn't happy about how Motown added extra instrumentation to the song Far Cry, a track Gaye considered unfinished. He saw it as an attempt by the label to second-guess his artistic decisions, and he was outraged that they released the album despite his objections.
Get up, get up, get up, get up. Let's make love tonight.
In 1983, Marvin Gaye said something that felt like a warning. Going on tour might end him. Because of the serious money problems and a lot of tax owed, he had no choice but to start a tour to make money. In April, he began the Sexual Healing Tour in San Diego. The tour was supposed to save him from his financial troubles, but instead it led to more problems. Marvin dressed like a star in a red military-style outfit with shiny gold buttons, an outfit that is now in the Motown Museum. On stage, he looked confident, but inside he was falling apart. His health, both mental and physical, was getting worse. The pressure of the tour was too much for him. As the tour went on, Marvin started to feel paranoid. He believed people were out to get him. He hired bodyguards, not just for show, but because he was scared for his life. He even made his sister bring him water on stage because he thought someone might poison him. This fear consumed him, leaving him drained and deeply depressed. Every time he stepped on stage in a new city, he thought it might be his last show. The stress took a toll on his body. During the tour, he collapsed from exhaustion and had to go to the hospital in Florida. Marvin couldn't take it anymore and decided to stop the tour. He went back to his family home, hoping for peace. But being there only brought up old family problems, making things worse for him. Marvin's fears about the tour came true. Instead of helping him, it only made his life harder and pushed him deeper into despair.
He was a very peculiar habit, such as dressing up in women's clothes and wearing his wife's, nylons and underwear and things like that.
Marvin Gaye's childhood was shaped by his father, Marvin Gaye Sr., a strict Pentecostal preacher. His father ruled the house with tough punishments and strict rules. But his father wasn't just strict. He had many personal struggles. Marvin's sister, Zayola, said their dad secretly wore women's clothes and struggled with alcohol. When he wasn't drinking, he could be kind, but when he drank, he became cold and bitter. Some family members didn't think he was a bad person, but for Marvin, the pain from his childhood was unforgettable. When Gaye returned to the family home, his father had taken a business trip to the family's home in Washington, D.C. When the elder Gaye returned to Los Angeles, he and his son continued the antagonistic relationship they had built over the years. Gaye's two sisters eventually moved out of the family house due to the quarrels between the pair. In a 1985 interview, Gaye's sister Jean claimed that her father said multiple times that if his son ever touched him, he would K him.
She answered the phone. She said, hello. And I said, hello. And she said, oh, baby, it's you. So she recognized my voice. She said, yeah, I know why you called me, and it's true. She said, his father shot him.
The life of Marvin Gaye, Jean Gaye told author David Ritz that there was no doubt Marvin wanted to die. While celebrating Christmas in 1983, Gaye gave his father a .38 special pistol to protect himself from potential intruders. A verbal argument broke out between Marvin Sr. and Gaye's mother, Alberta, on April 1st. Gaye attempted to mediate but largely defended his mother. When Marvin Sr. began shouting in Alberta's face, Gaye shoved his father down and began physically attacking him. Marvin hit him. I shouted for him to stop, but he paid no attention to me, Alberta later told Ritz. He gave my husband some hard kicks.
After what happened, his father killed him, and what it was, that I had known about his relationship with his father. Because it was turmoil and traumatic for all of Marvin's life.
A few minutes later, Marvin Sr. fulfilled the threat that he had previously made. Returning with the same gun that his son had bought him a few months earlier, Marvin Sr. shot Gaye twice in the chest. Gaye's brother Frankie and his wife Irene heard the gunshots from the guest house on the property. As Frankie tended to his brother, he heard what he alleged to be Marvin's final words. I got what I wanted. I couldn't do it myself, so I had him do it. Frankie claimed in his book, Marvin Gaye, My Brother. It's good. I ran my race. There's no more left in me. From his final words, Frankie and some of the other Gaye family members believed that Marvin had provoked his father into K him as a form of suicide. He put himself out of his misery. He brought relief to Mother by finally getting her husband out of her life, John Gaye said in Divided Soul. And he punished Father by making certain that the rest of his life would be miserable. My brother knew just what he was doing. At the time of his death, Marvin didn't have much in terms of property or money. His biggest asset was his intellectual property. This included his song royalties, image rights, and life story. Marvin left behind a will, but under California law, his 3 children were entitled to split his estate equally. Of course, before they could receive anything, debts and taxes had to be paid. But the people managing his estate worked hard to pay it off. Through smart marketing of his music rights, they not only cleared the debts, but also built up millions of dollars in assets. Today, Marvin's children continue to benefit from his legacy. One big moment for Marvin's heirs came with the 2013 hit song Blurred Lines by Robin Thicke, Pharrell Williams, and T.I. The family believed the song copied Marvin's 1977 hit, Got to Give It Up. The singers who made Blurred Lines went to court, asking a judge to declare that they hadn't stolen Marvin's work. In response, the Gaye family countersued, saying the song did infringe on his copyrights. This legal battle was tough. Marvin's children had inherited the rights to his songwriting, but not his performance rights, which stayed with the estate. This meant the actual recording of Got to Give It Up couldn't be played in court. Instead, the case relied on sheet music and experts who compared the two songs. In 2015, the jury sided with Marvin's family. They awarded $7.4 million, later upheld on appeal, for profits earned from blurred lines. However, this amount didn't include the extra millions made during tours featuring the song. Despite the challenges, Marvin Gaye's children have been fortunate. Thanks to the efforts of the estate's managers, they've been able to keep his legacy alive and benefit from it. If Marvin had planned more carefully, his music rights could have been fully passed to his kids. But even without that, his family has found a way to preserve his memory and success.
You're a regular hero. I had to put you in a movie.
Marvin wasn't just great at music. He also tried acting. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, when his singing career was growing, Marvin decided to try something new. He acted in two movies, The Ballad of Andy Crocker and Chrome and Hot Leather. Both movies were about the Vietnam War, a big issue in America at that time. In The Ballad of Andy Crocker, Marvin played a Vietnam War veteran. The film showed how tough life was for soldiers when they came back home. It talked about their struggles and how hard it was to fit back into normal life. The second movie, Chrome and Hot Leather, was different. It told the story of Green Berets, soldiers, getting revenge on a biker gang. Even though these movies weren't very popular, they were special for Marvin. He dreamed of being like Elvis Presley or Frank Sinatra, who were big stars in both music and movies. Marvin had the looks, the voice, and the charm for acting. Some people believed he could have become a movie star if he kept trying. There are a couple of stories about how Marvin Gaye Jr. became Marvin Gaye, with that extra E at the end. One such story has it that on the release of his first Motown single, Let Your Conscience Be Your Guide, the record company added the E to his last name via Detroit Historical Society. However, in most accounts of this minor change of names, the person making the decision was Gaye himself, once again stemming from his complicated relationship with his father. Gaye talks about his name in Divided Soul and how he was deeply troubled by having the same name as his father, who is often described as a sexually ambiguous man. All it took for Gaye to be reminded of this connection was for people to add "is" to the front of his name, asking, "Is Marvin gay?" He just couldn't escape the teasing and the confusion of his own sexual identity. Beans Bowles, a music producer who knew Gaye, stated, "He fought it. The cats would kid him about being gay, knowing he wasn't, but knowing how he hated hearing about it. We called him Gayeski. That bugged him too." Ritz himself added to this section of Gaye's life that he was attached to his father, branded for life.
Baby, I think I'm
Marvin often called the #1 purveyor of soul music. Michael Eric Dyson, in his book Mercy, Mercy, Me, the Art Loves and Demons of Marvin Gaye, said Gaye changed music in a way no one had done before. He mixed different styles of music, including rhythm and blues, gospel and pop, which made him stand out. After he passed away, the New York Times said he became a huge influence in pop music, blending soul music with the sounds of gospel singers and jazz musicians. Gaye worked with Motown in the 1960s and 1970s, and his songs helped define the sound of the label as earlier mentioned. People started calling him the Prince of Soul and the Prince of Motown because of his big role in making Motown successful. His music showed how black music had grown from simple rhythm and blues to deep soul, and later songs about personal and social issues. Gaye was one of the first to step away from the way Motown produced songs, and this gave other artists, like Stevie Wonder, the chance to do the same. Marvin Gaye's music also helped shape the future of R&B, especially the Quiet Storm and neo-soul styles. Many famous artists, like Barry White and Stevie Wonder, have said they were inspired by his songs. Even in movies, his style had an impact. In Dreamgirls, Eddie Murphy copied Gaye's 1970s fashion. Gaye's name continues to be mentioned in songs, and his influence is still strong today.